all right, everyone. Here we go. It is another edition of From the Margins with my dear friend James Avant. And before we go any further, I just want to say happy belated birthday, Jimmy.
Thank you.
It
Thank you
is
very
well
much.
deserved. Well deserved. How was your birthday, Jimmy?
Well, my birthday was very interesting. I spent it in Mount Dora. I enjoy Mount Dora very much. For those of you who don't know it, it's a very interesting town that recently reminded me very much of Orlando. The mayor left, and they elected a new mayor and basically a new city council because there was a developer who had come in and tried to develop that area, and there was a fierce resistance from the residents of Mount Dora of that development, and uh, they cleaned house, and now the new people are what you would call anti-developers. It's kind
Okay.
of interesting that it's like, oh, am I in Orlando or am I in Mount Dora?
Hey, people want to protect the space around them, and there's no secret that there's folks in our communities who want to just pave over everything. And it's been said to me, or let me put it this way: I've been in a room where it's been said that the goal here in Orlando is make it one big sprawling metropolis. And so, yeah, it's good for the folks of Mount Dora. That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's start with our first topic.
Yes,
It's the month war. Okay.
yes. We've been at it for approximately a month now, and
And
the
supposedly
United,
we're winning, but
right?
let me bring some things up. First of all, I think this is a war of choice. Oh, was Iran a threat? Was Iran a bad person, country? Were they doing bad things? Yes. Okay. Was there a really imminent threat to the United States? No. Okay. They were not going to bombard us. They were not going to do anything. But I think that the war of choice has now become a war of necessity because it was not properly planned. Okay. Uh, Netanyahu convinced Trump that this would be easy 1, 2, 3, and everything will be out. He has a Secretary of Defense or Ward Secretary, whatever you want to call it, who has no credentials to be there, no the capacity, who was easily convinced. For that matter, was Rubio and so was Vance, and they just convinced the president to do this, and they did not realize that this Iran was not just going to say, "Oh, okay, we give up. What do you want? Yeah, here it is." That did not happen, and now we have a problem that we have with the stress of Hamas. That basically is controlled by Iran, and it's affecting 15% of the oil in the world. Now, you say, well, 15%. Look, we're paying $4 a gallon, and we're going to be paying more. So the war continues. We have obliterated this. We've taken this out. We've taken that out. Look, we have. Have they surrendered? No. Are we going to put boots on the ground? Well, that's a good, interesting thing because a lot of Republicans have said in Congress that if he puts boots on the ground, they're going to intervene. They're going to have a problem. And if we do, we're going to get a lot of dead people coming back. Okay. And again, this was a war of choice. We were not really threatened. And at this point, we have this. The second thing, we have shown what Donald Trump has accomplished. And I want to congratulate him. He has accomplished that the rest of the world doesn't like us anymore. Now he said, well, I started this war. I didn't consult you. I didn't ask for your opinion. I didn't ask you to join me. But
Mhm.
now that there's a mess and the stress, I need you to come and help me out. Well, the rest of the world has said, no, it's your war. You started it with Israel. You finish it and you do the cleanup. We're not going to do the cleanup for you. Uh, some people think that that's wrong. I think that it's basically, did you ask me for my help before? No. Now you want me to come and clean up your mess? No thanks. That's their response. But here is what I call the hypocrisy of this war.
Okay.
I'm a Democrat, a registered Democrat, who has the guts, different from most of you MAGA people, to criticize my own. Barack Obama fucked up when he threw the red line in Syria and said that if they use chemical weapons, there will be an intervention. Well,
Okay.
there was chemical weapons, and he did nothing. That was wrong. He lost credibility over that, and the Republicans, Lindsey Graham, and Donald Trump, and all of them criticized him for doing that, and they were correct. He fucked up. So, Donald, lets me do you return the favor. You sent last week a tweet or text or whatever you want to call it in your new social media, saying that if Iran doesn't fully open the stretch of Hamas without threats within 48 hours, this exact point of time, the United States will hit and obliterate various power plants, starting with the biggest one. It's kind of interesting. He doesn't even know which the biggest one was. That he could say this because it's the biggest one. He has no idea of what he's talking about. Now, the 48 hours have passed. And what did he do? Different than Obama. He lied. And he said, hey, I'm not going to do anything for the next 5 days because the Iranians are in negotiations with us, and we submitted 15 points to them, and there are basically negotiations, so I'm not going to do this. The Iranians answered as follows. There's no negotiations. And by the way, don't send your son-in-law and that other guy over here because we don't want to negotiate with him, but you can send J.D. Vance and we'll negotiate with him. By the way, the hostilities continue from Israel, continue bombarding, and so did the U.S. The only thing they didn't do is hit the power plant, and we all know that the bombardments from both sides have continued, and the stress of Hamas is still closed. And by the way, now the other stress on the other side has been closed by the Houthis. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's basically the war is on, and for those of you who do not understand this, I'm going to make it simple. Obama blinked and failed. Trump threatened and didn't follow through with his threats. He hasn't. At this point, the question is, what is plan B to finish this war? Because if you think that just because we bombarded their places that Iran is out of the picture, that was done many years ago in the 80s, and they came back. Look, Russia has promised to give them missiles. So has North Korea promised to give them missiles. So and China has promised to give them missiles. So basically, it's a matter of time. Do they still have missiles? Well, it's kind of interesting. We took them all out, but they found some way to take out Israel and Tel Aviv with missiles, which supposedly they had none, but they did.
Right.
And by the way, they have allies that are bombarding Israel, not even from Iran, but from other countries. So basically, at this point of the question, if you feel that the U.S. is won, you're full of shit, because we have. We have bombarded them? Yes. We have taken away some of their powerful weapons? Yes. Have they surrendered? No. Have we occupied the government? No. Have we changed the government? No. What have we accomplished? We have bombarded the shit out of them. Other than that, the government is intact, and we're still fighting each other. I mean, maybe we're bombarding them more than they do. It's like that fight that you had as a kid. You got slapped 5 times and you slapped back once. And you felt good about that one slap back. That's how the Iranians are feeling right now. Yes. The truth of the matter is that this war has increased the price of oil, has pissed off all our allies, has basically made rich Russia because we took away the embargo from their
they're making money.
They're making money. They're making money off this war. So let's not pretending. Right now, the president has lifted the Jones Act that about ships coming
Right.
in and out of the United States, which has made other countries rich too. So at this point, the question is going to be: do you really feel safer? I don't know, because I never felt threatened by Iran. I'm going to be honest. Well, maybe some of you were, and I'll respect that. I don't feel safer. Do I think that the United States people are going to put up with this? Look, if the and I'm not a person of surveys, but it makes sense that 75% of people think that this war is costing us in our pocket economically and are not in support of it. So
Mhm.
basically, from the financial point, they don't like it. Do they really feel that this war is necessary? Well, there it's typical American. This is what I call now typical. If you're a Republican, you're supporting it. If you're a Democrat, you're against it. But here's where it has become interesting. The independents do not support this war.
Mhm.
And Biden won with the independent vote, and now Trump won with the independent vote.
Correct.
So it's a question: has this war really cost the American consumer? No question. No
Mhm.
question. Were you paying $3.99 a gallon, David? You were
Uh,
not paying $3.99 a gallon. Before
no,
the war, you were not.
it's been a while. It's been a while since I paid 3.99 a gallon, 3.99 a gallon for gas until recently. And yes, a week ago, I did pay. Yes, three
And,
ninety
I, and
nine.
I'm going to say this in a very interesting way. I have to laugh because I'm starting to think that Fox News wants to become the new comedy station. Uh, really, Hannity, you are going to try to blame Biden for this increase in petroleum by saying that he should have done this when he was president? I'm sorry. That's a stretch. Okay,
Yeah,
you know that is such a stretch. And
right.
if he
Biden
had
wasn't
done
gonna do
it,
that.
you would be thinking about the gasoline being $4 a gallon. So yeah,
Right.
uh, it's stop the hypocrisy. This is what I'm trying to ask my people. Look,
Mhm.
for are the Republicans the answer to the question? No. Are the Democrats the answer to the question? No. But who controls the vote? You do. Elect people who are going to represent you and do what is best for you, because it's kind of interesting that Friday night at Bill Maher's program, Stephen A. proved how
Yeah.
ignorant he is about politics. Oh, but these politicians know what they're doing. And no, they don't. If you think they know what they're doing, you're the ignorant one, not them. You are. So basically, yes. Or his think that people always vote intelligently. Well, if they did,
Ugh. I don't
uh,
know.
I
Emotionally.
don't, exactly. They do vote emotionally. And
Right.
like Jim Carville would say, and I agree with him, it's all about the economy, stupid.
It is. It is. Bottom
And
line, kitchen table issues, economy.
and the economy right now, you might talk about the stock market if you want to, but people don't care about that. They're paying $4 a gallon of gasoline. The food is going up because the transportation of the food is going up. Uh, the clothes and everything else is going up because the transportation of everything's going up. So yeah, it is something that is, and it proves how ignorant we are. Okay, we think, well, we have our gasoline here, and we don't have a problem. Well, you know what also happened that is not being publicized? A Valero refinery in Texas exploded in
Ah,
an accident,
yes, that's right.
and that also threw up the price of gasoline in the United States. So it's
That's right.
people tend to think that it's all about doing the right thing. Well, the right thing is not starting a war that we don't need to start. And if you're going to start it, plan it and make sure that that strait is open. But this is one here where I'm going to end this. Look, I served in the United States Army. Yes, I did not see combat, so I will put that out there. But if you are going to put boots on the ground in Iran, let me tell you of four things that I can guarantee are going to happen.
Okay.
One, some of our soldiers are going to die. Two, some of our soldiers are going to be wounded. Most of our soldiers are going to come back with severe mental health issues that are caused by combat.
Hmm.
Okay? It's not that you're not American. It's not that you're not. It's that it's going to affect your mental health severely, severely. As a matter of fact, I always loved the opening of Private Ryan.
Mm.
That is a mental health issue for those of you who do not understand. It is.
Mm.
And four, we are going to have a division in this country over those who agree with the war and those who don't agree. And we do not need any more grounds for division. It's bad enough. It really is bad enough. So we need to stop thinking that in those terms. So that is where I would end that. And I'm going to jump into something different. But you have a question.
Wait, yes, I do, Jimmy, because I want your take on this. And we talk about, U.S. soldiers being on the ground in Iran. We talk about proxies for Iran bombing, our bases, bombing, Israel. There's one component that has not been talked about recently in these conversations, and it's the Iranian people themselves taking up, and I want to say taking up arms, but they're not allowed to have, weapons, firearms. But the Iranian people uprising and taking over the regime, and that's a component that I believe that has stymied our efforts, the American effort to defeat the Iranian regime. I'd like to hear your take, your thoughts on where are the Iranian people in this, and are they hampered by the fact that they're unable to rise up because they do not have weapons, and in order for this regime to be defeated, a lot of the change has to come from within. A lot of the effort has to come from within to do that.
Okay, let's go 45 years back. Iran. I'm not going to take another country because that would be offensive. We had the Sheikh of Iran, a king, appointed by the CIA. They took out the previous regime because they were not friendly to us, and they put in the Sheikh. And the Sheikh was selling us the oil at a reasonable price, and we were doing everything was fine, and I could do it. There was an uprising in Iran, and yes, the military did join in part of it, but the people didn't have weapons either. They didn't. But they went to the street because they were fed up with a regime that was a puppet for the United States, a regime that was not really faithful to their religion, a king was wasting their money and their resources, and an oppressive king that if you disagree with him, he will kill you. And we don't talk about that because we tend to think that that was a democracy when it really wasn't. He was a king. There was a revolt. As a matter of fact, they took over the U.S. Embassy, if you recall, and they took down a bunch of other things. And they could distinguish between Canada. They never touched Canada because they thought of Canada as an independent and friendly country. They did take the U.S., and they instituted a government that they liked. For some reason, our intelligence and our way of thinking is that, oh, these people are so oppressed, they don't want uh, uh, to do anything. They have been on the street and they have protested. They have been killed for it. Yes, that is the truth. But for certain reason, I think what we've done and not thought of it through is when Israel and the U.S., who they've always considered their enemies, attacked them, I think that united the country. That is not the consequence that the intelligence had told the president. They told that to Netanyahu, but Netanyahu didn't care. He just wants to a war with them and win that war. So he does not really care about that one. But he did know that. I think the reaction of the people in Iran has been: we've been attacked by the U.S. and we've been attacked by Israel. They want to liberate us. They want to kill us. And by the way, they're killing civilians as well as they're killing military people. And they have killed our leaders. And they're trying to tell us that they want to implant in here a type of government that we may or may not agree with. So I'm not sure if it's just because they don't have weapons or because this has united them. That is something that is kind of interesting, that, and to a certain degree, I think they also have realized that the U.S. is not going to come to liberate them. They didn't do it in Venezuela. They just took out Maduro, and they left the rest of the bad government there. So they're thinking that what Trump is going to say, oh, give me a couple of towers that I can put tourists in, and give me a couple of $1 billion in a bank, and I'll let you alone. You see, the problem that I think that you don't understand is that the rest of the world has lost trust in us. So I think that when we think that they were going to revolt against the government, they might have. But coming from Israel and U.S., who are their enemies, and let's put it this way, they took out the U.S. influence in the 80s when they threw out the Shah of Iran. They did. So I'm not sure if we're thinking that they think us, the United States, as a reliable ally. Look, right now, Donald Trump has succeeded. Nobody trusts us. Nobody trusts us. Do you really think that the people in Iran think that if they overthrow their government, that they can count on us? Because they know they can't count on Israel. Let's stop pretending this. They know they cannot count on Israel. Israel is they both hate each other. It's mutual. They cannot count on Israel. The same as Israel does not think they can count on Iran. So they see their enemies attacking them, and that has united them. So they think that they're going to uprise and throw down the government. That's fantasy. And if that was the intelligence that was given to the president, Trump, shame on our intelligence, because it is proven not to be right. Look, the people of Venezuela did not revolt. You took out Maduro. We have another government. I don't see the people in Venezuela revolting. Now that they're out there and it's more democratic, yeah, for now, but it's still a strong arm. Okay, that we're getting, that they're sending oil to the United States would be, yeah. So it's really a matter of I think our intelligence was wrong. They were attacked by the two countries that they've always considered their enemy. And maybe, and this is something saying it in a different way, maybe it was only the U.S. and not Israel. But they're afraid that if they take down this government, Israel's going to come in and take them over. That's what I think they're more afraid of. So I would go. That's why I think we have to be very careful of thinking that they were going to revolt because they were so happy that the U.S. was taking down their government. They don't trust the U.S. Right now.
Wow.
This is something that we need to realize. The world doesn't trust us anymore.
It's a good observation, Jimmy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So to go along with that, this past weekend, we had another round of No Kings protests beginning on Saturday, March the 28th. And estimated, this has not been confirmed, 8 million individuals showed up, and their cities across America and even across the world, in one instance or another, showed up to protests, many things. The Trump administration's policies on immigration, ICE in support or not supporting ICE in our communities. Of course, the Iranian war and so many other things. Your thoughts, Jimmy?
Look, this started as a small movement, and I would say 2 years ago there were not 8 million. Not so much, didn't reach that much, and it did go higher. And it's I
Mhm.
think, look, to say that the American public is happy with Donald Trump, there is a group. I'm not going to say there isn't. There is a very smaller group because it's being reduced. I mean, we know that independents have abandoned Donald Trump like there's no tomorrow, and the MAGAs are still there, but there are MAGAs who will abandon him if he puts troops in Iran. There's been at least I could tell you about 12 congressmen who have said in their tweets, if he puts troops on the ground, we're going to bring it to Congress to stop this war. And those are Republicans. And if those 12 Republicans vote for it, and Democrats vote for it, yes, they'll stop the war. This is the
Right.
issue that we need to understand. This is something that the people are not happy with. They're not happy with it. And look, if and this is something that I'm going to throw the question out here. Do you think it's only 8 million people? I just because I know a lot of people who did not go to these manifestations, did not go to these events, did not go to these protests or whatever you want to
Right.
call them, who agree with those people.
Sure.
So I would estimate that this is more in the 20 or 21 million. I've always said that if you have in a political rally 50,000 people, that you could duplicate it by 10 because of the limited space or because some people just don't want to be in the sun or some people don't want to be seen or okay, so yes, it is significant. And with that, I'm going to jump into something that people do not understand.
Okay.
The third theme of today is the Democrats' special election wars. Okay, ever since Donald Trump took effect in 2025 to present, every special election in this country, not in Florida, in this country, has been won by a Democrat. To say that the Democrats have more push, that they're more eager, that they will go out to vote, and God knows that they're doing it without a good Democratic Party machinery to do it. This is what really scares me. That if the Democrats ever get their shit together to get out to vote, it could be even worse for the Republicans. But they've done it. Look, I'm in Florida. I will tell you right now, the Florida Democratic Party had very little to do with the two victories we just had.
Yeah.
And the House victory, the Senate victory had even less to do with it. This was uh, roots on and boots on the floor and hard work. Now, for those of you who are going to call me or send a comment and say, Jimmy, but that area of Mar-a-Lago used to be Democrat. Yes, but when they redistricted it in 2020, they made it more Republican to make
Right.
sure that the president always lived in a Republican district. Well, he still does in numbers, but he's still
Sure.
lost in reality. And this is the problem that we have to understand. A disorganized, disoriented, and not knowing what their plan is, A, B, or C, Democratic Party in this country has won every special election since last year to present. If they ever get their shit together, it's a wipeout. And I mean that
Mm.
seriously.
Wow. That's a hell of a prediction.
Well, they would. Look, would you agree with me that the Florida Democratic Party House victory had nothing to do with the victory in
Oh, I,
here?
I agree. I think it was. like-minded Republicans who helped the victory for Gregory and for the gentleman in the Senate District 14 race. I agree. I I agree with what you're saying. There were Republicans. It was a robust turnout considering the special election, about 23-25% turnout, and some of those Republicans voted with Democrats to, you know, for the Democrat candidate in both campaigns.
And that is scary because you had Republicans voting for a Democrat. Okay,
Yeah.
come the congressional elections, those of you who are thinking, "Whoa, well, they have these many districts that are Republican, they're solid Republicans." This solid Republicans by 5 to 8%. I would agree on that. Okay,
Okay.
but if Republicans stay home, or Republicans 4 or 5% start voting Democrat,
Right.
and the other part that we do not see in this equation, this has been my prediction. This is what I base my prediction on.
Okay.
Independents have abandoned the Republican Party, in my opinion. These are the people who are going out in special elections. Because if you take Mar-a-Lago and the Senate, when the election came between Republicans and Democrats who are ascending to the House, look at the numbers of the independents that voted.
And let's not forget the message by both candidates in these special elections last week pretty much took to a message about affordability. And none of this, DEI woke stuff that Democrats typically double, triple down on. But it was affordability, and it was a message to likable candidates. It was a message that resonated with those voters in those special elections, which is key because
Which is,
they've left the Democrats a long time ago.
yeah, but look, the DEE and the other, that was a group in certain states. Florida was never one of those. Okay, that is not.
I, I don't know, Jimmy. I see some candidates right now talking about that stuff here in Orange County,
Yeah,
and
but
I'm bewildered.
yes, but that's what I would call the just a thing. Orange County is a liberal county. Let's stop pretending that it isn't.
Okay,
It is.
okay,
Is the one county that I could say is liberal, and yeah, and there's certain candidates who are may not even get elected. To be blunt, uh,
sure.
that's another reality. Do we have our idiots? Yes, and do the Republicans have theirs? Yeah. Uh, that goes without saying. But this is where I'm coming from. I looked at the number of independents that voted,
Okay,
and I would have to say independents are people who are not happy with their parties, either Republican or Democrat, and they left. Okay. I respect that. I understand that.
hmm
I have no problem with that. But the independents who put Trump in power, and I'm going to call them out, they did. They voted for him massively. If the independents start abandoning the MAGA movement, okay, if the independents start abandoning the MAGA movement, and I'll give you an example. In Florida, I think the independents are close to 25% or higher
okay,
of the
okay,
registered voters. If you take those 25% and the numbers that I keep hearing in the surveys, and I'm not saying this they're correct, but 75% voted Democrat in the last special elections, or are now saying that they're going to vote for the Democrats. That could be a significant impact. And if the Republicans 5%, and look at how slow I'm going, 5% say I'm going to vote for the Democrat, which we just saw here in Florida, and I would say it was more than 5%, but I'm going to be
okay.
conservative and give them 5%. The Republicans are out. The thing that Democrats have to do is two things. Yes, right now I hear and I agree that it's not that the Democrats are winning, it's that the Republicans are finding a way to lose this election. I do
Oh
stupid
boy,
things.
aren't they?
We have our
Right.
wokes that screw up people and people don't like, and I'll agree it. But some of the MAGA things that are coming out there are not that far behind, you know.
Sure.
So if you're going to go that way, yes. If you're going to go and say, hey, everything is fine, everything's hunky dory, this affordability is bullshit, you don't have a chance. Okay, so basically, the matter is how is the Democrats? Look, I would agree with Bill Maher. One thing, Democrats don't have a leader right now. They really don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and the old farts. Some of them are quitting, but then you have a James Clyburn, who is in
Oh
'90s, who still wants to run, and but then you
God.
have Stacey Hawley left, and so did Nancy Pelosi.
Damn.
So
Yeah.
you gotta have new blood there. But then you have other people like
Yeah.
the crazy lady from California who's in the '90s who starts talking to us about herself in the third person.
Yeah.
Uh,
Waters.
yes, yeah. I just say I don't. All I have to say is what she does, and you go, yeah. So yes, you have your problems in both parties. The question is who's going to become the leader of the party, and I'm going to give you one last one.
Sure.
All politics are local. The Republicans are going to try to talk about Mandami in New York, which, by the
Right.
way, New Yorkers apparently are happy with him, but that's a story for another day and another equation. Um,
Mm, over 800 companies have left New York. Oh, check that. 300 companies was the stat that I've seen. And about
but
of the
with all due respect, we're politicians and we get people elected. Companies don't get people elected.
yeah, good point.
Mandami was outfunded. He had the Democratic establishment with Cuomo. He had everything against him, and the people voted for him. And right now, that's why I say the people appear to be happy with him. The corporations,
Good.
yeah. But then again, you know, who would corporations don't vote? For those of you who are thinking about running and thinking about taking money from corporations, yeah, take their money, and that will help you and make life easier for you to win an election. But they don't vote. At the end of the day, they don't vote. Or my all time favorite. I went to the Winter Park Art Festival this year.
Yeah.
The people gathering petitions,
Oh,
and three-quarters of the people say, "I'm not from Orange County,"
yeah.
but they have paid people there to gather petitions. You know,
And every year, Jimmy, you tell these folks, don't do it. It is a waste of time and resources. Every year you bring up this example.
and they do it anyway. But hey, that's they still don't learn. But going back to this, the phenomena is look. Normally, the president loses the House. Obama lost it. Bush lost it. Clinton lost it. Uh, it's a tradition. It's more of by how many. And right now, if we're going to be honest,
Mhm.
the it's a majority of two. Right now, you have
Yeah,
36, 36 Republican congressmen have said we're not coming back. We're retiring. This is crazy.
that's right.
This is not a way to govern. We're out of it. Okay. You have 21 Democrats
Mhm.
now. If the Democrats run some people who talk about affordability, talk about the things they want to talk about. Look, there's nothing wrong in our party talking about your faith. I really, for those of you, if that's something important in your life, talk about it. That's fine.
Okay,
Okay. But talk about how you're going to make people's life better. Okay. Because
that's right.
that is crucial. Talk about what you think is fair. That you know that you don't think it's fair for the government to be spending $2 billion a day in a war, and tell you that they cannot spend $200 billion in your health insurance. Yeah, that's a fair statement. It is a fair statement.
Right.
That now the Department of Defense or Department of War, excuse me, is asking for $200 billion to pay for the war in Iran, but there's no money to pay for your health insurance, that's a fair point to bring up in a campaign. So yes, I would agree. It's time that we start talking about that. But yes, the Republicans are going to have an uphill battle, particularly with their leader, because they cannot make their politics local anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They have to follow a line that comes from Washington. And if your politics are not local, you will lose. But do we have any comments?
We do. We have a couple. However, you made me think, Jimmy, and I've got two quick questions for you.
Sure.
First, is this wave that we're seeing here in Florida, the wins in Senate District 14 and also House District 87 recently, is this sustainable for the Democrats? That's the first question.
Yes, because it is caused by the voters. It is
Mm-hmm.
sustainable because it's not only in Florida, it happened in Texas, if you remember recently, and it's happened in other states,
Mm-hmm.
because right now you have Republicans voting for Democrat candidates, of course, as we saw here and in Texas. You have Democrats very motivated to go out to vote, and you have independents abandoning the MAGA movement and voting Democrat. So it is. The only thing that could screw up and make them lose is if some idiot decides to go woke on us, or some idiot decides to go kind of too much to the left. Right now, that has not happened. So anybody who stays in the center and runs as a Democrat is going to win. Because, with all due respect, this is the other thing I'm relying on.
Okay.
The Republicans are going too much to the right. We don't talk about that. It's bad for the Democrats to go too much to the left. But the Republicans are going too far to the right. And
Mm.
people, if you're going to talk about middle for the Democrats, but the Republicans go all the way to the right, that gives us an advantage because the only person in the middle is a Democrat.
Okay. And my second question, Jimmy, there's this prospect of a redistricting of our congressional districts here in Florida. A committee has been formed by the governor. Would it be wise for the governor to proceed with this redistricting of our congressional maps, considering the Democratic wins recently?
No, it wouldn't be wise because it, if he says, I'm going to make, look, numbers, you and I are number guys, okay?
Yeah.
There's no way you could take the 27 districts of Florida and make them 12 points or more above Republican without making snakes. And that will probably be thrown out by the court because that you are doing something that is borderline. But let's say the Supreme Court, who's about to get their backbone because they're doing a couple of things against the president, and he called
Sure.
them stupid today. For those who you did not hear that, and that made some really strong points that really convinced the people in the Supreme Court to back him. But that's a discussion for next week. Uh,
Oh,
and
boy.
and they make them that way. They are going to do it. There's the numbers are not there. If
Mhm.
you're going to make out of the 27, 25 with 5 to 6% over, you might lose half of them. And I'm going to
Mhm.
say that seriously. It would have to be over 12%
Mm.
each district, and the numbers are not there.
It's not correct.
Hmm?
Well, I know that there are some Republicans in the House delegation who are concerned that their districts will become that much more. What's what I'm looking for?
Competitive.
Thank you. Competitive. Yes. Yes.
And,
Don't
and
say
that's,
that too often, but yes, competitive.
I hate to say this, but if they're going to say, oh, we can make 25, you can mathematically, but it's going to be with a 5 to 6% average. Okay.
Right.
Yes, some might be 8 or 9, but you and I know that 5 to 6%, the way things are going lately, that if, let's say, in that 5 or 6% more Republicans than Democrats, but still the independents, and again, you have 5% of the Republicans voting for a Democrat, and you have a 5% of the Republicans say, I can't vote for this guy. He's a jerk," and they don't vote. That's a
Right.
10%, and that 10%, you're down. That's what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say. Uh, Number wise, if they know anything about politics, like you and me, a 5% district is a winnable district. Would
True.
you agree with that?
Very true. I agree with you. Oh, definitely. I agree with you.
So that's my only problem. Can they do it? Yes, but it's going to be a lot of districts with 5 to 6%, and like the incumbents are afraid of, that might make their district competitive. As a matter of fact,
Mhm.
I'll give you an example. If you throw uh, uh, Maxwell first into a district with 5% more Republicans in this area, he wins.
Okay. That's that's significant. That's significant given his politics and being, very progressive. Uh, yeah,
Oh yeah,
if he has the machine to do so. He has
and
the
now he
funding
has
to
the
do
machine.
so.
The truth of the matter is that he's not pissed off that many people in Orange County. He really hasn't. You
Good
know,
point.
has he done it something drastically? Well, not really, because he's a newbie who doesn't really have that push to do anything. He talks a lot, but talk is cheap.
Right. That's true. Very good points, Jimmy. Very good points. So let's get to those comments. I think the last time we took some comments from Facebook and Instagram and
Correct.
maybe TikTok. We do have a couple of comments from our YouTube channel. And
Good.
the first one is from a Robert Mitchell, F9Y. And he was responding to the short form content, how war is driving up your gas prices. And Robert Mitchell says, Biden was worse with no war. What was the excuse? Trump had it down $1 and more in some spots, and he will get it down again. Nobody is worried but you, buddy. Interesting.
Well, okay. So the most of the people in this country are okay paying $4 a gallon, and maybe even more if this war continues to go on. And really, Robert, you're going to blame Biden for not going to war. Look at your logic. You're blaming Biden for not going to war. For that matter, you're not going to blame Bush because he went to war against Afghanistan and against Iran, which, by the way, also increased our price of oil. But so it's all Biden. It's not. And by the way, why didn't Trump do it in his first term? Oh, because Netanyahu didn't convince him. Okay.
Mm, ouch. Ouch. We have another comment, and it's along the lines about gas. And it is another comment to the short form content, how war is driving up your gas prices. And this is from MPT7776. And so MPT said, let's see the government drop the gas taxes to help the people. I like that idea, Jimmy. What's your thoughts?
I would love that idea, but at the same time, for how long?
Hmm.
Look, the government has done a very good job of not increasing your income tax and putting the tax on the gasoline. So that way, the money for the roads comes from the gasoline. Not it makes sense to everybody. But if you were to drop that, you would have for how long can it is sustainable for the
Right,
government to do so? Could they do it
right,
for a month? Yes, they could. Could they do it for a year? No, they can't, because that
right.
that would really put a minor. Look. It's very simple. They could reduce that, but there's an interesting game here that we need to understand. There's a
Okay.
federal tax on gasoline and there's a state tax on gasoline. Now, Trump could reduce the federal one, but the state one is going to stay in place. So it's going to be maybe 10 cents a gallon that you might see in your gasoline. And the problem is not only the taxes, is that even though the oil produced in the United States and sold in the United States is selling for $110 a barrel because of
Yeah,
what's happening in Iran.
that's right. That's right.
So
That's so
yeah,
much.
that part is we can't change that by just reducing the taxes. It would have an impact. I'm not going to say that, but this war is going to, and the thing. And by the way, this war is costing us, okay, 2 by 30, 2 by 30 is 60. What is
Yep.
60? $60 billion
$60 billion.
up to now spending that war. $60 billion. And some of you bitch about spending on federal employees
Mm.
and on other federal issues. So this is going to be an interesting thing to come. So uh, it's going to take more than just dropping the taxes. Taxes will give you 10 or 15 cents a gallon tops, and
Right.
that will bring it from 3.99 to 3.75. Still
Hmm.
a lot of money.
It is. It is. Compared to what we were used to not too long ago, before February 28th. So, Jimmy, to close out this episode of From the Margins, anyone on the Democrat or Republican side you want to call out?
Oh yes. Okay, and I'm going to do this in a very fair way. Look, there's 21 people who have quit Congress. Nancy and Stacy, I congratulate you. Miss Waters and Mr. Clyburn, this is ridiculous. It's time that you find somebody younger, prepare them, and let them take the bat. The bat. Realistically, at 90, being a U.S. congressman, has served more than 20 years, is a disgrace. So I'm going to call you two out as, and there's others that I could call out, but you are about to head special committees in the U.S. Congress, very important committees in the U.S. Congress that scare me. At the same time, we need new leaderships. Politics are changing constantly. Learn from Mandami, who used social media very effectively. He knew how to discuss the affordability issue, present it in an intelligent and understandable way to the people in the city of New York, who, by the way, are probably the most well educated people in the country, and get himself elected and take out the old establishment. You need to go. Mike Schumer, you need to quit. You need to not seek re-election. You are too old, and you are not the person that should be the person in charge of the Democratic Party in the Senate. At this point, that is what I'm going to criticize you. Now let me get to the Republicans. God, people, do something to save this country. You have fucked us up spending $60 million in a war that was a choice, not a necessity. You have cost us lives. You have cost us money in our pocket. And the only thing you could come up is giving an award to the President of the United States. The only thing you could come up with having him sign the dollar bills. The only thing you could come up is just basically not allowing TSA to be open. Mr. President, you're an ambassador. You should be embarrassed. You could have signed from day one an executive order ordering to pay TSA. But you chose not to do so because you thought that would hurt the Democrats. You know who it hurt? The employees of TSA. You know who it hurt? Now that people realize that you had that power, it's hurting your party. That is your fuck up of the week. You could have done this 30 days ago. Not Sunday, 30 days ago. You did it because you thought this would affect the Democrats. You thought this would hurt the Democrats. So that way you allowed the TSA employees to go without pay. You had the power the whole time. And by signing the executive order yesterday, you admit that you had that power and that you have impoverished the people of TSA and endangered our airports because of your negligence and your failure to execute your office. With that, I will see you all next week. I thank you for your subscribing. I thank you for your comments. Even though they might be right or wrong, I will answer your comments. And I might agree with you or disagree with you, but we would agree to disagree. But again, let me end with this. The enemy of this country is our division, caused by our politicians and by the algorithms of some of our favorite toys on our phone. So at this point, let's stop the bickering and let's save this nation. With that, I'll see you all next week. Take care. And I'll
Thanks,
see you.
Jimmy.
Oh.
See you soon.
Take care.
Bye now.